Dear listeners, there's a moment every January when we feel we all feel the weight of promises that we have made to ourselves. The gym membership, the new habit, the person we swear we will become. And then quietly, without ceremony, those promises dissolve. Not because that we lack the willpower, but because we build them on shaky ground. So the question comes is, what if the problem is not us, but the entire framework we have been handed? What if beginning a year with intention requires something older, wiser, and far more human than a list of resolutions? So, dear listeners, this is your host Avik, and you are listening to Mind Mix Machine, a podcast where we slow down, look inward, and explore what it means to live with a little more awareness in a world that never stops moving. So, and today we have a very lovely guest. Please welcome Jobert E. Abueva. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Avik. Thank you for the opportunity.
Amazing, amazing. Dear listeners, before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Jobert. So, he is an award winning author, TEDx speaker, and the mind behind the Janus Plan, a book that challenges everything that we have been taught about new beginnings and offers a path rooted not in resolutions but in the reflection. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much again. Really happy to be here.
Amazing. So, Jobert, I definitely want to ask you about most of us have been taught that starting a new year means making some kind of resolutions and all, setting big goals, declaring who we will become, right? Or maybe I'm just leaving this behind and I'll start something new. So you have written an entire book that walks away from that model. So what do you think? Is the biggest misconception here that people carry about how we should begin a year, and why does this matter?
Absolutely. So, first of all, it's understandable why we all want to think about how we can be that new person at the beginning of the year, right? Because an old year is ending. We want a clean slate and we look forward with such enthusiasm and energy. That said, and we talk about New Year's resolutions. First of all, we know a lot of people who make resolutions. I don't know if you've made resolutions. I sure
Uh-huh.
have in the past, but I have been a chronic New Year's resolution maker and breaker.
Okay.
And what I found out in my research is that 91, if not 92 of all resolutions fail to
Uh-huh.
come to fruition. That's quite staggering. I'm very impressed with that 8% that are
Yeah.
able to see their resolutions through. More power to them. But for most of us, it's a struggle. And to answer your question, the misconception is that, first of all, January 1st is a tough month and time to think about starting over real quickly because historically, this is based on the Gregorian calendar. And this was a date that was chosen by the emperor in Rome, and we accepted it in the Western world. If you look at cultures around the world, there are several New Years, right?
Yes.
Everything from a Hindu New Year, a
Uh-huh.
Jewish New Year, a lunar New Year. I've learned about all sorts of New Years, including Nowruz, the Persian New Year. There's even a New Year called Mataraki, which is the New Zealand Maori New Year. And what is so fascinating, Avik, about all these different New Years is that they go into the new year with a lot of time devoted to reflection, to really understand what the past year taught them.
Great.
For January 1st, people think, the calendar has changed. I'm going to come up with resolutions. I'm going to make some quick goals and I move forward. The problem is that you're making them based on where you are at the moment without thoroughly thinking about what did the last year really teach you so that you are better informed to then come up with goals that are realistic, that are truly tied to your lifestyle and who you really are, as opposed to just absolutely saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So the misconception is that January 1st may not necessarily be the best time, but it is a new year. So let's figure out how can we do it with more thought, with more reflection and more consideration in order to then come up with goals that are more sustainable.
Exactly. That's amazing. Yep, yep. So when you say people are setting themselves up to fail, then
Hmm.
what does that failure look like? I mean, is it about not keeping the resolution, or is it something deeper happening
Yeah,
emotionally or psychologically?
absolutely. Again, we want to be our very best, and we know that there are a lot of common resolutions people like to jump on. I want to lose weight. I want to sleep more. I want to eat better. I
Hmm.
want to save money. I
Yeah.
want to do this. I want to do that. Those are all well and good. But one possibility is that people are not more specific. They have not really considered when I say I want to save money, what are we talking about? And what is realistic given what my salary is, what my expenses are? It's really taking time to understand if I am interested in saving money, what has my last year been like? How did I spend my money? Where did it all go? Or if I have saved money, where did I save it? And are they in the best, is my money in the best place it can be to have a return on investment? So you can see there's a need for more reflection, deeper analysis to understand what is a truly realistic and specific goal that I can attain in the new year by just thinking about what makes most sense as opposed to being very
Hmm.
absolute, right? So I think that that's one issue, which is people are very absolute about it. And then the other one tied to the earlier point I made is that we believe, oh, it's time to get started because the calendar has changed. I have to be that new me. And I'm starting to rush to the gym every day. I want to share with you a very interesting statistic. There is this fitness app called Strava, and they measure activities around the world, people who use the app. And what they found is that specifically on the second Tuesday of January, they
Hmm.
see this global dip in activity. This is based on over 800 million
I mean, dip,
activities
you're
that
saying, I
they,
mean, it is going down.
it goes out. Like people start the new year super up like this, high energy every day, lots of activity. By that second Tuesday,
Yeah.
so, and that is called Quitter's Day. They've actually coined a name for it. And so,
Okay.
what that tells us is that we are so gung ho, so excited with our new goals, but we don't necessarily think about how it's going to sustain. What steps do we need to take to ensure that if I want to go to the gym every day, first of all, that's not realistic, but what is a midpoint or a realistic time I spend in the gym, every how many days, what kind of activities do I do at the gym? Consider all of that to then come up with a goal that makes more sense for you. So we're trying to avoid this Strava drop where everyone's like every day they're in the gym and then they get tired and then
Yeah.
life gets in the way. So how do we avoid that? And I think that's one of the challenges for sure.
Very, very interesting answer. I mean, when you said about that dip, I actually remember what happened. Like this is I'm talking like it's like 7, 8 years ago. Okay, so when I used to do hardcore gymming, and
Okay.
that time it's like okay, I'm just going every day and all everything because that time I was hardly 22, 23. I'll be
Mhm.
that time. So me and my friend, we both used to go there 5 in the evening, and then we'll do till 8, and we'll come back. Very charged up. Every day we goes. And then suddenly what happens, like our exam starts coming. Okay. So for that 5, 6 days, we've not been able to visit. Fine. We'll again go. Then this thing started happening. Suddenly what we felt like whenever there is an occasion or something, we will go and get charged up. And after that, when again it's a kind of flat season, that time
Mhm.
okay, we'll go fine. Let's see. Fine. That fine thing, it actually stopped. And then from there, we moved from gymming because we paid for the whole year. And hardly we've been there for 5, 6 months, max to max, not more than that. So it is like something. And so right now I am doing cycling. I do cycling every day. So that is something. But yeah, I mean, it happens. This is, this is something which happens with most of the people, I believe. Yeah.
It's very human. And I think we have to take a step back, not be too hard on
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
We are trying, we're doing our best. I'm glad to hear you maybe figured out another activity to meet your health and fitness goals, which is excellent. But I think that's all part of the process that I talk
Yeah.
about in the Janus Plan, right?
Right.
Which is, again, first of all, really understand the lessons and what you can take away from the past year to help you come up with those specific, measurable, actionable goals. And then find ways to motivate yourself along the way so that you're consistent
Yeah.
with goals. And if you fall off, maybe that's okay because you want to also have periodic check ins. Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's every 3 months that you come back to these goals that you've actually written down and reassess them. And don't be afraid to alter them, tweak them, revise them a bit. Instead of saying, I'm going to go to the gym for 5 days a week, 1 hour each time, maybe you pull it back to 2 or 3 times a week. Again, be very specific about what activities you will work on and then build back from there. So that's what I talk about in the Janus Plan. There's 6 steps, which we can get into. But the idea is that you carefully think about the goals based on what has really transpired, come up with those specific goals, and do regular check ins so that you can still stay on track, even if you fall away from it.
Exactly. Very, very true. And so if you bring about our daily life, everyday part, someone listening right now might be thinking that this sounds beautiful in theory, but by life in your life is chaotic.
Hmm.
I'm juggling at the work, family, 100 small kind of fires every day. So how does beginning with the intention actually show up in a life like that? So what do you say?
I'd say the step one is exactly what you said, which is we have to acknowledge that we have very busy lives and there are many distractions out there and priorities that keep shifting. There are fires to put out, so to speak. We have to account for that. But even knowing that we have such a chaotic life, there are still deep seated dreams and aspirations and hopes that we all have. And my personal example is writing the Janus Plan, the book. I've always wanted to write a book about this topic because I had this burnout in corporate America. I learned from that experience. My practice of sustainable goal setting came out of that episode, and it has helped me ensure that I'm staying on track with my priorities, which are despite my busy life, I've always wanted to write a book and that I would work towards getting that book completed and now published. And there are other goals in life or places I've always wanted to travel on my bucket list. It's important to keep those handy,
Right.
but that's what the Janus Plan helps you identify. What are those goals you really want to go after despite all the chaos and noise in the world? It doesn't mean you have to accomplish it this year. You might accomplish it next year, 4 or 5 years from now, even longer. But it is kind of like your map, right? If you have big goals in life like the Himalayas, you want to go climb the Himalayas, this Janus Plan is like a roadmap and a water bottle, and it helps you guide through the journey of life. So even as you might have many stops along the way, which might be distractions, you're still headed towards a certain destination. And that is why the Janus Plan is helpful because it helps you identify those truly big goals that you want to achieve in life and to know that you are always taking another step closer to it, despite, to your point, this chaotic life we have.
Exactly. Exactly true. That's amazing. And so if you have to give one advice to the listeners today, what that will be?
So I would start with step one of the 6 step Janus Plan, which is to ponder the past. This is where everything starts. It's the most challenging, right? Because to have a brutally honest self assessment is not an easy thing. There are lots of things in life that feel uncomfortable. Maybe we're embarrassed by something that happened at work or in the family or with friends. So, my point is, and in the book, I offer a lot of exercises, prompts that help us identify. First of all, I'll share with you specifically an exercise. It's called the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think it's really important, especially during the threshold between the old year and new year, to just list everything that was good, if not great, because there is so much we should be thankful for, that really good things happen to us. And then acknowledge all the bad things that happened. Again, no matter how painful or how difficult, you're not necessarily sharing it with anyone, but it's for yourself to acknowledge it and to even have it in writing. And then the third one is the ugly. There is something really ugly. One thing that you or I may have experienced or feel bad about or would like to address, it's important to identify that, because without doing so, you can't address it. And just acknowledging it is such a huge step, because then you might then consider taking action against it, right? But I love this very simple exercise, because by pondering the past, I can appreciate everything that's great in my life that has happened. I can acknowledge and deal with everything that was not so good. And then there's that one item, that one ugly item that I have to face head on and be honest about, in order for me to move forward with either clearer conscience or the will to address it head on, so that it removes the burden that I'm carrying into the new year.
Exactly. That's really amazing. And if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
Absolutely. They can find me on my author website, which is Jobert E, my middle initial E, Abueva.com. There you can learn about the Janus Plan. You can also learn about the different workshops and talks that I offer. The point is that there is just so much opportunity and possibility with the new year, whichever year you choose, whether it's January 1st, a fiscal year, an academic year, a traditional year from your religion or culture. Use that as an opportunity to look to the past with honesty, look to the future with bravery and opportunity and aspiration, and then kind of walk through that threshold, that door into the new year with intention. By really having the intention and wisdom together, that is going to make all the difference in your new year. So please find me on jobertabueva.com if any of this has resonated with you. The Janus Plan, A No Resolutions Path to Begin Your Year with Intention, comes out in September. And I think you can find it on your preferred book retailer online.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for you, easy reference. And I'd say, like, the path forward is not about paved with promises we cannot keep, but it is built on the quite honest work of knowing where we have been and choosing with the intention where we go next. So, with this, thank you so much, Robert, for sharing your perspectives, your knowledge. And at the same time, thank you everyone for being here, for your honesty, for offering different way to begin, right? And if you're listening right now, or maybe you'll be listening later also, I hope that you carry this with you. You don't need to have it all figured out by January 2nd, right? You just need to be willing to look, to reflect, and to start where you are. It's enough, right? So with this is the host Avik, and this is Mind Meets Machine. Until next time, be kind to yourself. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Avik. That was wonderful. I appreciate it.